This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, boy, I don't know where the time goes. We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of American Beauty, which was the Best Picture winner that year. And I'm going to tell you, I saw that movie in theaters 4 times. And I think out of all the years I've been going to movies, 1999 was probably my favorite because I own a lot of movies. Must be a good 20 or so from that year home on Blu-ray. And that was just a great year for movies. And American Beauty had some controversial stuff in it, but boy, it had some nostalgic stuff too, especially in its imagery. And folks, I have one of the Spartanettes on the phone with me, involved in that very, very famous scene in the gym. And wow, everybody remembers that. I have the very talented, very skillful, very lovely Reshma Gajjar on the phone. Did I get your name right?
Yes, you got it right.
I know we talked about this before I started recording, but give me a little background on your name because it's very different for me.
Yeah, so my name is Reshma Gajjar, and growing up, I always said Reshma Gajjar because phonetically in English, it's the E's are pronounced breath. Like Reshma, like an E, it's spelled R-E-S-H-M-A. And so I always said Reshma, and I'm a first-generation American. So, I'm already a confused kid trying to connect the cultures of where my family came from in India and, but also growing up in America and really trying, to make my way through. And I always said Reshma Gajjar. And I don't know what it was. I just thought my mom, when she'd say my name, she'd always say Reshma. She'd always say Reshu. That's her nickname for me. And I just never put the pieces together in my mind. I was like, oh, yeah, she just has an accent. Like, she's just saying it with an accent, which is hilarious because her accent is actually the way you're supposed to say my name. So I had a total identity crisis in my adult age when I was like, wow, I really, Americanized, fully lost the plot with saying it incorrectly all these years and thinking that my mom was just saying it with an accent. Anyways, so that led me to now, both of them hit me in a different place. When someone calls me Reshma, it just feels like it's me. And then when someone calls me Reshma, it just feels like home. It's like it just hits me in a different place. And now I know, and now I just let people call me what they want to call me.
Did you have this identity crisis after you were married?
Yeah. Actually, this identity crisis has been going on for a while.
Because I could just see this. You approaching your husband saying, "Dear, I have to tell you, my name is not what you've been calling me."
Well, it's interesting. I actually am like, I'm like, what do you want? How would you want to say my name, And, he appreciates it. He's just like, he's used to calling me Reshma, but he knows that it's Reshma. So sometimes he'll call me Reshma for different reasons. It's kind of, now it just, I don't know. I think it's part of the struggles of being first-generation American and trying to figure out, or first generation anything in a new country, trying to figure out your way. And, there's a lot of things that you just don't realize until you're older. And then, you feel really, I had so many feelings around it. I felt embarrassed. I felt like I didn't honor my own culture. I mean, I went through all kinds of things. And then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? This is me. It is what it is. I'm not, I am who I am. What can I do? It's part of my story. It's part of my story. So.
Well, I know you're heavily into dance. I was wondering, could we get a little bit about your background and how you gained a passion for dancing?
Yeah. So I actually grew up in taking dance class my whole life. My mom had put me in dance because she just saw I had a lot of energy and she wanted to channel it into something positive. And at the time, she was looking for like a Bharatanatyam studio, which is like a classical Indian style of dance. And there wasn't anything available at that time. And so she just put me in ballet and jazz and tap.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fell in love with it, and had been doing it since I was 3. Like, I just did it my whole life, you know. I started dancing when I started walking, basically. And when my mom finally did find a Bharatanatyam studio, I was so in love with classical ballet and this style of dance that I wasn't even thinking of trying anything new. I was like, no, I found my place, I'm good. And so I just kept doing it as a hobby, and in no way, shape, or form did I think it was going to be my career at all. Mm-hmm. It was just a hobby. You know, I always say that dance, you know, this again goes back to the first generation American struggles in life. Dance was really like my first love and my mm-hmm. first friend and my therapist and my first art expression. Like, it's a very challenging thing to have 2 feet in 2 different cultures that are so different. And I just felt like it was like, you know, it was so much to me. It was my freedom, you know, mm-hmm. It was so many things, but I never thought of it as a career path.
Okay.
And neither did my family. I mean, my mom and dad, when I graduated high school, I was going to college like everybody else mm-hmm. in my culture would do. Like, education is very important. And I was going to study something, you know, like, I didn't know what, but I was like on my path. And what happened was I quit dance because I was going to college. And this is where everything kind of like, I had a turning point in my life, because I was in my first year in college and I was studying biology. And I remember just feeling really, you know, I think as a kid, we feel all kinds of emotions. We get sad, we get happy, but I've never felt depressed. Like, being sad and being depressed are totally 2 different things. And yep. I felt this feeling of depression, and I'd never felt that before. Okay. And I didn't know where it was coming from, and I decided to take a dance class at the college. I was like, I'm just going to take a dance class because I just need something familiar. And I went to the dance class, and it was like I had come up for air. You know, I'll never forget it. It almost scared me how much it gave me life, mm-hmm. because I realized, whoa, this thing is like crucial to my existence. And that's always a scary thing, you know, mm-hmm. to think that you're almost dependent on something to keep you like joyful. But anyways, I basically in that moment I realized that dance was a very, very important part of my life, and I was just going to keep it in my life. But it wasn't then the professor of dance that I was taking classes from, I mean, she is the one that is responsible for my career, because she saw the potential in me that, you know, I was always an advanced student growing up, but I was never the favorite. I was never the one that they pushed.
Okay.
You know, and so I never knew I had potential. I just knew I was good, but I didn't think I was good enough. And she really saw the potential in me and kind of introduced me to this world of dance that I never knew existed, you know, which is bizarre as well, because I grew up watching Michael Jackson and like the Newsies. The Newsies was a big movie for me.
Yep.
I like fell in love with the Newsies and was like, I want to either be Christian Bale or be his love interest. Like, I was so conflicted, like which one I wanted to be. But I was like, I just want to be a boy in this movie, or I want to be the girl he's in love with.
Well, you don't want to be the girl he's in love with in American Psycho. That turns out bad.
No, don't want that. For some reason, I never connected the dots that could be me. And so I just wasn't pursuing it. And so she pointed me into this world of dance that I consciously knew was there, but didn't realize it was there. And then I went to this convention, and I saw all these choreographers who work for Michael and Prince and Madonna and all these people, and I was taking classes from them, and my mind was just blown, and my mind was open, and I auditioned for a scholarship, and I ended up winning a scholarship to a studio, the Edge Performing Arts Center in Los Angeles, which is then what led me to a year-long scholarship at their studio, which is what led me to then move to LA and pursue dance and performance and acting as a professional career, which then led me to the rest of my career. So that's kind of how I got into it. It's a long story.
Well, you mentioned Michael Jackson. I was born in the 70s, so I would have been about 10 years old when the Thriller album came out, and boy, do I remember it. And of course, the Thriller video and whatnot. Was Michael Jackson a big influence on you, or did you have other influences?
Oh yeah, Michael Jackson was a big influence on me. I wanted to dance for Michael Jackson, and then the other one was Newsies.
Mm-hmm. Can you moonwalk?
I mean, I can do a moonwalk. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's my best move, but I can do it.
So Newsies was a big favorite. I was going to ask you what were your favorite musicals, but I guess that one's pretty much answered that question.
Oh yeah, I love Newsies. I also love West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
I love Chicago.
Yep.
The Rob Marshall film, especially. Mm-hmm. I love Hamilton, which is something that was such a phenomenon. But I got caught up and swept up in that. I really, really loved Hamilton.
What about Singing in the Rain?
Oh, I love Singing in the Rain. Gene Kelly is my all-time favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. Oh, they don't make them like that. They don't make performers like that anymore.
I love that Donald O'Connor when he goes up the wall. Like, that is amazing.
He's amazing. I mean, it still holds up to times. Like, I watched it the other day, and I'm just like, the amount of talent that they had. Mm-hmm. It's unreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to, I was looking at your Internet Movie Database, and I gotta say, pleasantly very happy with what I'm seeing. I've seen a lot of your stuff, and boy, American Beauty, you were listed as Spartanet number 9. I don't know. I didn't know they were numbered. But that was a big scene, of course, you know. Kevin Spacey playing Lester Burnham, who gave up a night of the James Bond marathon for this.
Yeah.
And he goes there in that famous scene where Mina Severi, you know, opens up her front, and all those rose petals come out, you know, and that was just an enchanting scene. The music and how quiet it was when it focuses in on Spacey's face, and of course the Spartanets. You were one of the Spartanets, and you know, it's easy to focus in on Mina, but I'm one of these people. I see the dancers because you're all important.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Talk about how you got American Beauty, and talk about the process of that scene.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny when you told me about this interview. I was like, I'm gonna really have to dig deep. That was such a long time ago. So my memory of that time, 20 years ago. Oh my gosh. I remember. This is crazy. But at that time, I had an agent. I had an agent right after my scholarship program. And I remember seeing the auditions happening at the studio that I was on scholarship for, because it also is like a studio space for people to rent out. And I crashed that audition. So my agent never actually sent me on that. I saw it somehow, and I don't remember how I found out about it. But I decided to crash the audition, which is something you don't do. Like, professionally, you just don't crash auditions. Like, you're supposed to, like, your agent's supposed to invite you. You know, you're supposed to, like, be told to go. But crashing auditions is, like, something you don't do. But I was like, I'm going to crash this audition. I don't know what came over me, but I did it, and I ended up getting it, which is what also surprised me, because you know, I was super eager. It was the beginning of my career. I think that's why I decided to do it. And I was like, why didn't I get the call? I remember being like, why didn't I get it? And they're looking for diversity. I remembered that, like, that was a big deal at the time, because diversity, you know, it's still a thing that's trying to be enforced.
Yeah.
But at the time, I remember it was like one of the things, and so I just went, and I ended up getting it, and I couldn't believe it. And I also remember Paula Abdul was the choreographer for that, which, you know, we all know Paula Abdul.
Yeah.
And we all loved her. And she was definitely somebody that I really admired. I remember really liking a lot of her music videos. And so my experience was working with her and these other dancers, rehearsing. I would say we rehearsed maybe like 2 days. Maybe we shot maybe 2 days at the most. Yeah, it was a pretty early on career thing that I did not even know was going to blow up the way it did and win an Oscar. Like, you do these jobs and you're just hired. You're hired to do these jobs. You don't really, especially as a dancer, as an actor, you know more. Like, as an actor, you get a script. As an actor, you know, like, who's in the movie. Like, you have more of a, like, idea. As a dancer, you are kind of focused on that one scene that you're part of, but you don't know the whole picture. It's not a holistic experience. It's just a very focused experience. You only know what you're doing, and you actually, sometimes, if you're lucky, they'll share with you what that part of the story has to do with the whole part of the story, you know? And so I don't remember knowing anything about the film except for that scene. And then when we went and saw the movie, I was like, holy cannoli, this movie is amazing.
Yep.
We're part of something so big. And then it won an Oscar, and that was just like, again, you just don't know when you're working on these things what makes it, what doesn't make it. Sometimes, you do jobs, they never see the light of day, and this could easily have been something like that. You just don't know. And then here we are, like, Oscar-winning film, and a great film at that, too.
Yep.
So that was and so early on in my career, so it was a real big surprise.
Well, I bet your agent's not disappointed that you crashed the film now, huh?
No. Yeah. No. I know that they were like, what were you... And then, of course, I booked it, so they were happy.
Well, yeah, it turned out to be a great choice. I saw the movie, as I said, 4 times in the theater when it came out in 1999, and I was just enchanted with it. And, of course, you had mentioned Paula Abdul. Do you have a favorite Paula Abdul song?
Forever Your Girl.
Yeah, my favorite Paula Abdul song is actually one of her more lesser known ones. It's called "I Need You."
Oh, I'm gonna have to look into that one.
That was the last song on side 1 on that same album, and I always thought "I Need You" had a great beat to it. And yeah, look it up. It's called "I Need You," and it's on that same album that has "Straight Up" and "Forever Your Girl" on it. So, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So good.
But that was
I remember really loving her music videos.
Yeah. What was she like?
Oh, what was she like? She was. I feel like she was very friendly. I remember her being really friendly. And but very, like, I mean, I remember her being emotional, but I don't remember her, like, why I remember her being emotional, like, whether she was really excited or, yeah, I have very, very, but this is what's interesting, is, like, I have very few memories of my interactions with her, or what my experience with her was like. I just remember her being very particular, very particular, and yeah, those are the things that I kind of remember: particular and kind and emotional, generally.
And of course, Sam Mendes, the director, has really carved up a great career. But I remember him best for American Beauty. What was it like working with him? Because this was a real game changer for him.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, like, where we have very little as dancers. We have some interaction with the director. Mostly we are interacting with the choreographer. Okay. But I remember him being really quiet but very specific and clear with, what he wanted. Yeah, but it wasn't I remember him. This I really remember very clearly. I remember him when the scene with Mina and the rose petals happened. He very, consciously asked everybody to leave the room. Like, I remember that was like, we're gonna now have, like, kind of a kind of a closed set type of situation for her, so that she's not like doing this like unzipping of her shirt or her costume in front of everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like so that it felt very much like in kind of private, felt like a little bit more private and not so much of a spectacle for everybody. But I remember that. I clearly remember him being like asking everybody to leave so that they can shoot that scene.
And it's interesting because that kind of works for the mindset too, because Kevin Spacey focuses in on her particular, and then just kind of drowns out everything else.
Yes.
So
disappear.
Yeah. Mina Severi, that was a big year for her because she did American Pie the same year, and big year for her. And of course, she's very iconic for American Beauty because you see the posters with her looks like a swimming pool of rose petals, and what was your experience like working with her?
Oh, she was so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
She was really nice. And I feel like I remember running into her years later at like a shop, like a clothing shop, and like being like, "Oh my God, hi! I know you." And like when somebody's famous, you have to remind them like how you know them because they're just like they probably see 1,000 people, and she was so nice. I remember, like, at the time, she was still even though she made American Beauty, she wasn't, like, stratosphere level. She, like, I remember we, like, exchanged numbers or something, and we sort of maybe texted each other a couple of times, but I just remember that being a very unique experience with an actress like that. She was very, very kind and nice. I remember that about her. She was very professional.
Was she nervous about doing the pivotal scene?
If she was, I couldn't tell. I could not tell if she was.
And let's not forget Thora Birch. She was interesting in this. I've seen her many times, but I mean, she was fantastic in this. And do you have any memories of her?
I had less time with her. I had very little time with her. I mean, they were in our rehearsals maybe, because we'll create the piece and then we'll bring them in and they'll come in at the end. So our time with them is not as much as with each other.
Okay.
And so, they come in and they kind of learn it and then get incorporated, and then it becomes about making sure that they're okay. And I feel like she felt a little bit more shy and more like nervous about the dancing than maybe Mina. But I think it worked for her character.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
How long did this scene take to shoot?
Oof. I'm gonna say at least, I would say it was like at least half a day, because they had to also fill the bleachers with extras. There was all this, like, they had to show it from, being a full arena, right? All of us dancing, and then it changes to just one side of the room, and it's just the side that they're sitting on. And then it's getting closer to us and focusing on the dance, and then it goes in even closer to him and zooms in, and then it's just the two of them, and then it changes into a whole different, like, from reality to fantasy. I remember it being, I was on set all day. I remember that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Did you get to meet Kevin Spacey and Annette Bening?
I did. Yeah, I met Annette Bening. I met very briefly. Kevin Spacey, I feel, I remember he was more accessible in the sense that, like, when we all met him, he was kind of like around more. And I have this, and this is like a memory that I'm like, did I make this up? But I remember being in a circle of, like, a massage circle, and we were all kind of like, the dancers were all massaging each other. You know how you do that in a circle to train.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like my memory is that he joined in on that, and we were like having a blast because he just kind of like joined in on that, and it was a really nice moment. But you know, I just remember him being, you know, friendly and like talkative a little bit, but you know, there was more of us and there was one of him, so you know, not a lot of personal time or anything.
Well, he
it's
did
so interesting now when I think about him and like what he's been through and like what's going on in his life now, and like in the times back then. You know, it's the same thing that I think about when I think about Michael Jackson too. It's like every time I think about people, and I just people are so layered.
Yeah.
And complicated and complex, and you know.
Yeah, Kevin's come under a little bit of the attack, you know, and I can't. If the accusations are true, then you know he deserves it. I say from a talent, I think he was an incredible actor, very easy to watch on screen. I'll say that, and I'm not defending his actions, but I'll say I still enjoy watching American Beauty, and I'm going to tell you there's all kinds of celebrity trauma out there where people have done this and done that, and you still watch their movies and enjoy them, you know. It's a really, ever since all this, when, you know, this stuff has been going on forever. People have been, you know, behaving badly since the beginning of time. You know, it's just like now people are standing up and talking about it and like coming out with it and not letting it just kind of hang out underneath, you know, behind curtains, and so it's not new that this stuff is happening. It's new that it's coming out and people are facing either accusations that aren't true or facing repercussions for their actions, you know. And it has led me to many conversations with people about how do you separate, because what I'm realizing is like because I always think about Michael Jackson and like Bill Cosby and these people that like their work is amazing. Maybe they as human beings are messed up. Yeah.
Like they as human beings are messed up, and is there a way to separate them from their art? You know, and that is a very complicated thing, and some people are not able to. I know people are like, no, I cannot watch Cosby Show. I cannot listen to Michael Jackson. I will not watch whatever. You know, and then I feel like for me, I'm able to separate it just because I've learned after having my own experiences with people and humans that people are layered and people are complicated, and that like if you think about it, most art and artists are tortured. Like a lot of the art is created out of like, you know, very rare, it happens, you know, but like a lot of the art that's created, if you did some history on the artists that created the art, there's probably, nobody's perfect. There's always something that propelled them, or some situations that they've been through, a bad behavior, and like, you know, they're expressing themselves, like it's so gray. And so I just feel like if their art is inspiring and it has inspired positive in the world, even though maybe they haven't made positive choices in their own actions, but their art has created positive, you know, influence, like the Cosby Show or Michael Jackson's music, then I am one to like, but this is the complicated part. Do they still make money? Do they still get rewarded from, you know, us supporting this positive piece of art? And that's where it gets a little weird. It's like, well, yeah, I want to watch the Cosby Show, and I want I want kids to watch this show that I think was such an important show, but do I want Bill Cosby to still make money? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It gets really complicated, and that's a whole other conversation, I know.
Well, you know what? I come from the Christian faith, and of course there's that scene in the Bible where the Pharisees bring this woman out who's been caught in adultery. and they all want a stoner, but they're really doing this to trap Jesus. And Jesus says, for those of you who are without sin, cast the first stone. And I think there's a lot of stone casting going on, some of it deservingly so. But sometimes, it's like, I'm not perfect. I mean, I haven't done the Harvey Weinstein thing, but holy cow, we all have things in our life that we're not proud of, or decisions we made that we're not happy about. So, focusing on somebody else, why not, we just focus on our own life and try to make the best of ourselves. And quite frankly, I enjoy American Beauty, whether Kevin Spacey is in it or not,
Right.
Yeah.
You're able to separate and be like, this on its own stands alone as a fine piece of art, and I can separate that from the actors who play in it and their lives and their behavior. And that's kind of like where I am too.
I got lots of Michael Jackson songs on my iPhone or my iPod, whatever. And the same thing about Chris Benoit, the wrestler. They talk about the fact that he had murdered his wife and child and then killed himself. And they're saying, oh, gee, how can we still watch him? Or they're trying to eliminate him out of wrestling. It doesn't, I'm not condoning what he did, but, I can watch his matches with Kurt Angle or Chris Jericho or whoever it was he was wrestling and still appreciate the wrestling that he did,
Right, his craft.
Yes, yeah. I can do that. But there's also a difference. I don't agree. I can't say anything nice about Charles Manson. He had no talent. That guy was just a shithead.
Yeah. Well, everybody's line is different. Like I said, maybe your line is that. Mm-hmm. But I know people who will not go anywhere near anything of any of these people because it just feels like it's too much for them. So I think everybody has their own limitations,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Time's up.
20 years ago. Yeah. What do you think? It's been 20 years since American Beauty. What did you go to the premiere of it?
No, I didn't. No. Mm-mm.
Did you see it 4 times at the theater like me?
We actually had our own private screening, but we did not go to the premiere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had a private screening for the cast and the crew, but not the actual, red carpet premiere.
Did you meet all the cast?
I met most of them, yeah.
What can you tell me about your interactions?
Oh, very short, very short. It was I don't even, it's very formal formalities of meeting everybody who worked on the film at the screening, whoever ended up coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think everybody was super surprised at how amazing the film was after it was over, just wow, I didn't realize we were part of something so amazing.
It's funny because Chris Cooper has a line in the film that really upholds today's society. When he looks up from the newspaper and says, "This world is going straight to hell."
Yeah.
There's some truth about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we're moving in a direction, that's for sure. So hopefully that direction will then lead to a new direction in the opposite direction. I feel like everything, there's always ebbs and flows, and we're, going in a direction, and it'll go extreme one, like a pendulum, we'll just keep moving back and forth. And when it's bad times, it kind of goes over to the bad side, and then hopefully it'll swing back to the good side eventually.
Well, we mentioned 20 years since American Beauty was released, but it's also been 15 years for A Cinderella Story, and it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have a story about that because I saw Hilary Duff in concert back in 2006, and I met her backstage. I got a nice framed photo home of me with Hilary Duff that I just cherish it, and she was quite lovely. And of course, you're part of this film. And what was your experience like for A Cinderella Story?
So that one was a very, very quick job. Like, I remember auditioning for it, and basically auditioning, we had to kind of go in and it wasn't your normal audition where you learn choreography and you get broken up into groups until you're broken down until to a group of people that then get hired. This one was kind of like you got called in and you kind of put together something to show the choreographer, because the scene was the ball, the masquerade ball or the costume party. So we all were different characters and different, dressed in different kinds of costumes. And I knew the choreographer through her assistant, and she called me in to audition. And I ended up getting it, which was great. And it was one of those like long shoots because it's a party scene.
Yeah.
So it was a bit tiresome because party scenes take out a lot of energy, and you're kind of just like dancing around like at a party, and but there isn't like a choreographed scene. So there wasn't like a moment where we all came together and danced together, but we all kind of just had our own vibe, and we're vibing on the dance floor like different characters in a room. Yeah, and that's kind of how that one went.
I love Hilary Duff. Now, did you have any interactions with her?
I actually didn't, because that one didn't have her as part of a routine with us, or there wasn't any involvement where we crossed paths.
Okay.
So there wasn't any crossover with her.
Well, you were in another film that I also actually where I saw American Beauty 4 times. This film I saw 5 times. Was Clerks 2.
Oh my gosh, Clerks 2! You're taking me back.
Yeah, well, I just interviewed Marilyn Gigliotti, who was Veronica in Clerks, because that film's celebrating its 25th anniversary this year.
Wow.
And you know what? I was listening to somebody put Clerks on one of the worst sequels, but I don't know. I really liked Clerks 2. Was it as good as the first one? That's debatable, but I still really liked Clerks 2, and I thought it had a lot of deep moments. And yes, it had some very crass humor in it, but I mean, I thought that especially the character of Randall, there was some real deep stuff there. And of course, I know what scene you were in. Yeah. You dancing around when you got Jay and Silent Bob and their little ponytails.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun, actually. We were outside, and you know what's so funny about that particular personal experience was that was one of the very few jobs that I didn't wake up to my alarm. And I was late.
Yeah, well, Kevin Smith strikes me as an understanding guy.
Yeah, I am like such a punctual professional, and so I had a heart attack. Like when I woke up and my alarm hadn't, like I missed the alarm, and I saw that I missed my call, and I was going to be late to set. I was like losing, and that is a big memory to that movie. But I got there on time. I mean, not on time, but I got there before we started shooting, just in time to like go through hair and makeup and costume and all that stuff to then, be on set and keep it together. But that definitely is a memory for that movie for me, because it rarely happens. But yeah, they were such a fun and nice group of people. Also, that one, we didn't interact with them as much either, because they were in the scene, but they weren't in so we didn't rehearse with them. Like, we learned all that choreography on our own, and then we kind of like were set we were put into the scene, but it was like within their scene, so it wasn't like we were interacting with them. But whatever interactions we had with them on set it was fun. They were just so fun. Everybody was so kind. And Rosario Dawson, I remember, was just like also very sweet.
She's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, really kind. Everyone was very friendly.
Yeah. Well, you know, you got to dig the pigtails that Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes had on for that scene. And I love the cut when it it was just a musical scene out of nowhere, but I kind of liked it that they did that. And I love the shot of the guy at the urinal.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting a little too much into this, man.
Yeah. It's a little personal.
But I mean, Kevin Smith, I've always liked him, you know, and he seems like a fun chap, and I really liked Clerks too, and I hear a lot of hate on it now, but I'm sorry. I found, like I said, that scene in the jail cell towards the end, I thought was really deep stuff, and yeah, so I really liked it, and I'd like to see Kevin Smith do a Clerks 3, but
think it's going to happen?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Jeff Alexander is the big holdout who played Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the big holdout, and I can see why he's a holdout on it, and it has nothing to do with the films. It has a lot to do with other things, but it's nothing against anybody on the film. It's, from what I understand, I think it's studio related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I do know that Kevin Smith has had issues where he would shoot a movie for a small amount of cash, but then the studio throws like $20 million of advertising in it, and his movies end up making like $30 million, and it looks so small compared to what was thrown into advertising and what he actually put into actually making it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll cross my fingers and hope that they make one.
Yeah.
For you.
And Brian O'Halloran as Dante, he wasn't even supposed to be there today.
Oh.
I'm joking with you. You remember that line from Clerks? He constantly saying, well, that was his big line. And I understand he gets this a lot at conventions. People will say, are you even supposed to be here today?
Oh, right. Oh, my gosh. That's right.
Yeah, because in the original Clerks, I was like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. And when I was interviewing Marilyn, she said, yeah, Brian gets that a lot at the conventions. Are you even supposed to be here today?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Talk about 500 Days of Summer.
Oh, yeah, 500 Days of Summer was the same choreographer that did Clerks 2, Michael Rooney,
mm-hmm.
who was Mickey Rooney's son.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've worked with Michael Rooney a lot, and that was the second movie I'd done with him. 500 Days of Summer, that was fun. That was like when Flash Mob, well, actually, that was kind of the same vibe as Clerks 2. Michael Rooney is known for kind of doing that kind of work,
mm-hmm.
where it's like everyday people, pedestrians coming together and like dancing, you know?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a similar vibe, but different. And, I mean, I just love that scene so much, and I love that movie. The actors were not in the actual... We incorporated them in.
Yeah.
I remember that, but I don't remember them being in our... Did they come to our rehearsal? He may have come to like one rehearsal.
Who is it?
He's such a pro. Jason Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Okay, yeah.
Joseph
yep.
Gordon-Levitt, yes. He's such a pro, and he's so good.
Mm-hmm.
He's just good. He's great. He's fun and very talented, and I just remember he was having so much fun. And that scene is just, I mean...
And of course, you got Zoe Deschanel and Chloe Grace Moretz in this too. You got a great cast.
Yeah, Zoe was not there the day that we shot that, so I did not cross paths with her. But yeah, I was right behind him, dancing away, and yeah, just being one of the people in his fantasy world in the sequence. So that was nice.
Well, in your IMDb, you're listed as uncredited as a dancer for the Muppets. Talk about working with the Muppets, man.
Okay, first of all, I love Muppets, and I am as well a Muppet. I think I come from a lineage of Muppets. There's definitely Muppet blood in me. So I was very excited to work on the Muppets. I am one of hundreds. I mean, there were a lot of people in that scene. It's the like ending scene where we're all dancing on Hollywood Boulevard, and like the budget for this movie must have been grand because they closed Hollywood Boulevard right outside of like Chinese Man Theater for us to shoot that. So I don't even know how much that cost them. But that was again a Michael Rooney job. So I've worked with Michael Rooney a lot, obviously, and I played just another person on the street dancing, and we all kind of like are super excited and start dancing together. It's like when the Muppets it's a very happy ending. You know? That's kind of the vibe of that.
Do you have a favorite Muppet?
Do I have a favorite Muppet?
Yeah.
That's so hard. I mean, I love the two old men that are just curmudgeon-y and like sit at the top of an opera or a show and just talk smack about everything. I love those two old men a lot. They're great.
I grew up with the Muppets, and you know, I've seen all the movies, and I think Great Muppet Caper might be my favorite of the bunch.
So good.
Yep. But I love the original Muppet movie, and this one here was really nice. And Jason Segel and Amy Adams were perfectly casted in this. Yeah,
she's great.
Oh yeah. So I had fun with that movie. It was nice to see it brought back, and of course I gotta bring up La La Land. I gotta say I have a big crush on Emma Stone.
Oh my gosh, totally. I can see she is stunning.
Yeah.
And this too. She's been stunning in this.
Yeah. Well, I've been following her since Superbad, her first film. So it's kind of movie. Yeah, I love that movie too. What's interesting is watching Emma Stone transcend, you know, like she has got so much range. Like she's done Zombieland, she's done La La Land. She's going to be playing Cruella DeVille in the new Cruella movie. And like nothing against Glenn Close, but we know Glenn Close can play crazy. Anybody's seen Fatal Attraction, but it's going to be interesting seeing Emma Stone play Cruella. I'm kind of excited, you know, and she's in The Favorite, and she was in so many things, you know, and I remember going to see Easy A because she had top billing in it, and just to see her branch out and she worked with Woody Allen. Emma has become one of these people who's become more than just a pretty face for me to watch. She's just interesting to watch because she's enticing.
Yeah, she really is.
And you play one of the traffic dancers, and boy, do I remember that scene, and I loved how that scene went. You're traffic girl dancer number one.
That's right, traffic girl number one.
Yeah, talk about working on La La Land.
So La La Land, that one is definitely one that I can talk more about because it's a lot closer to 2019. That was only a couple, like 4 years ago that we shot that.
Yeah.
That movie was such an amazing experience for me. So I basically was hired by Mandy Moore, who is the choreographer, not the actress Mandy Moore. There's a choreographer named Mandy Moore. They share the same name.
Okay.
And she's, you know, a well-known choreographer in the community. And I've known her forever. And this was the first time we actually worked together. She had hired me and a bunch of other dancers to create. Basically, it's called the Skeleton Crew. So as you can see in like La La Land, for example, since we're talking about it, there's so many intricate, big production numbers that happen in this movie. And before hiring all these people, which costs lots of money, they hired a handful of people, and I was one of those handful of people, to create these pieces, which then will be put on other people, and bring in more people to kind of like workshop the choreography, set it up, figure it out, with a smaller group of people. So for about a week, we workshopped all of the routines that you saw. Anything dance related, we workshopped it all out. And on the side, they were coaching Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling with their dance stuff. Like, that was a whole side thing, where they were like having privates with them and teaching them, dance and like dance training. And it's all happening at the same time. And so what happened was I was learning and helping create the traffic piece, Another Day of Sun, right?
Yep.
And, there was times when we were like in the parking lot of our studio we were rehearsing at, and using our own cars, to imitate the cars, parked our cars in a way that would feel like the overpass freeway, and like practicing with their own cars, and like just like working out the kinks basically. And then Damien Chazelle would come to our rehearsals, and he would see us rehearsing, and he would take out his iPhone and kind of videotape what's happening, and as if he's camera, and like he's doing his own work and figuring out his own angles, and the DP would be there, and like we'd have like days when the producer or the whole team would be there to kind of see what we're up to. And so over this period of time, Damien was seeing me do this part that Mandy just kind of gave me to work out, which is the first girl that you see in this film, and that kind of starts this whole Another Day of Sun. And I'm like, the whole time that I'm doing this, I know that it's not my part. I'm just creating a part for somebody else to do.
Yep.
And I know that they're having auditions for it. People are auditioning for this part that I am workshopping. And that, even knowing that, I obviously, because I've been in this business and I'm very proud of what I do, I'm still going to do it like it's my part. Because you also want the director to see what its potential is, or what it could look like, and my etiquette is, as a professional, is you just you're always full out when the director is there. So I'm doing it as if I am the girl, but I never think it's going to be me, is kind of like how I was rehearsing this whole time. And then so happily surprised that he decided to cast me as a part and not anybody that went in on audition. So I ended up playing this role that I helped develop. And I was so excited, because I never thought that he would, I just assumed, going back to the topic of diversity, that he would hire, and I knew the girls that were auditioning, they were like the classic girl next door, the really like, all-American looking girls. And never, this is another reason why I just didn't think that I was it wasn't the right part for me. And so I was very pleased to hear that he not only went, diverse, he went like really diverse. I mean, I'm an Indian girl. I'm not like, Latina, which is maybe more prevalent, in LA. I'm like, I feel like minority of the minority. Was very, very thrilled and unexpected, and I loved and ate up every moment of shooting, which then would lead me to the shooting of this, which, was 2 days. They closed the freeway. Again, I don't know how much money they had to close the freeway, but basically where we shot it was the carpool lane overpass. So they were able to do it without causing too much trouble, because the freeway still goes, but maybe not the carpool lane. And, the carpool lane overpass. So they were able to do it without causing too much trouble, because the freeway still goes, but maybe not the carpool lane. And, 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 And so we had I remember going and kind of doing a rehearsal before the shoot, and then there was 2 days of shooting, and we happened to be shooting on like one of the hottest weekends in LA. So,
Okay.
and there's nowhere to hide because you're basically just out there without any like major shade structures. It was brutal. It was super brutal, but because I was having such a blast, I didn't even care. I was so happy to be there that like I didn't notice how hot it was, but it was hot, and like we're dancing on cars that are like burned to the touch. I mean, you're touching these cars and dancing and sitting on these cars that have been like, you know what it's like to touch a car that's been outside.
Oh yeah.
And we're sitting and dancing on them. I remember the bottoms of my shoes were like melting, like getting like melted, melting together a little bit, the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just such a dream come true. I had such a blast.
I have to ask about Emma Stone, of course.
I know you were. It's so funny because I actually, she was there, but she wasn't part of that routine. So she was there because they were going to start shooting her doing her part, which is when she's kind of stuck in traffic and none of us are there. So there was a moment of crossing paths because she was kind of at her trailer or kind of on set. So I met her, but we didn't cross paths, and like and same with Ryan Gosling. He was there, you know, he was actually part of it more because he was in one of the cars at one point during the scene. For some reason they wanted to catch something. So there was a crossover, but you know, we all met, but there was very little interaction with either of them. It was almost like its own film within a film, you know, outside of their story. It was like a little standalone situation, but they were there.
Well, you got
If only
some.
I'd met you sooner.
What's that?
I said, if only I'd met you sooner.
I don't know what I'd be like around Emma. Yeah. You do have some projects in post-production on IMDb. Are you able to talk about any of them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you talking about Moon Manor?
You got Moon Manor, there's Of God and Kings, and Bird and Halves, which is a short. And you got...
yeah, Bird and Halves.
Yeah.
So Bird and Halves is a dance and art short film that has gotten into many film festivals recently. Holly Shorts, that it's screened at Holly Shorts and many international film festivals. It's been doing really well in the circuit. And that was, you know, I love my job. I love performing. I love dancing. I love acting. And I love being in the commercial world. You know, I talk about how, going back to La La Land, like how there was nothing for me as a young person to know that I could do this because there wasn't anybody out there that looked like me doing it.
Okay.
Which is why I think it's so important. You know, diversity is really important because it was like after La La Land came out, I got a lot of people reaching out to me, just like so happy to see somebody that looked like them open a Hollywood film like that. And it kind of catapulted me back to my youth and explained everything, why I never thought this job was for me. And so that's why I think it's so important, you know, that I am part of the commercial fabric, you know, and not that I'm forcing myself. I love my job. I love being part of the commercial fabric, like being in commercials and films that are like, you know, big films and things like that. I think it's important for people to see themselves and recognize themselves in other people, to know that it's possible to be seen like that, you know? And so that being said, I have a major foot in the commercial world entertainment industry because I'm very lucky to be working as a, you know, in this world, because it's a very competitive world. And I don't take it lightly that I've been able to support myself and work as a professional performer for so many years. While that being said, I also have a foot in the art world because it's what sustains my love for the arts and like really satisfies my soul in a different way. And so Bird and Halves is like one of those projects. It is an art film. It is not like something that you're going to see like in in the masses. The masses aren't going to see it. It's very artsy. And it was choreographed by a choreographer that I love working with, who has a dance company called Hysterica that I used to dance with. And she works with this sculpturist, Laura, and I'm going to butcher her last name. I don't really even know how to say it, so I'm not even going to try. But Laura makes these beautiful sculptures. And one day, I think Kitty, this choreographer, saw Laura's sculptures kind of in a museum atmosphere, and she was really inspired by it. And she said, I really want to make a movement piece with these sculptures. And so she got, 5 dancers of hers together, and we wore these sculptures and kind of created a art piece with this installation on our backs. And like it turned into this story, very much of like burden, because this thing is like on you and like you're holding this thing, and we kind of, me and this guy pass it. I end up taking his burden because he's dancing with it, and then I end up taking it, and it's kind of and Flea did the scoring. Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. So it was a really beautiful film, beautiful cast, a lot of coming together of very talented people. And so that's kind of what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Moon Manor is a film that's going to hopefully come out this year, and that is another so close to my heart art piece that I've done. And so as well as dancing, I'm acting, and I really enjoy working on independent films, and this is an indie film that I was acting in. There's no dance involved, and it follows the life of this old man who, this is very, very incredible, unique, colorful character of an old man who's dying of Alzheimer's, who's suffering from, not dying from it, suffering from Alzheimer's, and choosing assisted suicide because he doesn't want to live. He doesn't want to go down the path of what's about to happen. And I kind of play his caretaker, which is one of like 3 other people throughout. The movie takes place in the last day of his life, and myself and 2 other characters are kind of like the core people around him on his last day. And it's actually it's not a serious film. It's actually very colorful and funny and lighthearted, as well as talking about this, very serious topic of assisted suicide and Alzheimer's, but at the same time, very colorful and fun and comedic. And it's kind of like a dark comedy.
Okay.
And I'm really excited about this film because I love the actor who, Jimmy Carrazzo, who plays the old man. Actually, he is one of the cool. It's based off of true stories of his own life. His niece is the writer of. It's a 2 female writer and director duo, and one of the females is the niece of the old man, and it's based on true events of Israel life, and he's probably one of the coolest people I've ever met on this planet. So I'm very excited about this film.
Wow. Yeah. And what about...
Keep your eyes peeled for Moon Manor when it comes out. I will definitely let you know.
Absolutely, yes. And what about Of Gods and Kings?
Of Gods and Kings is something I worked on years ago. That was just a short film that I think I played a ballerina in it, and I never heard from them. So I feel like it's one of those...
Your ballerina number 1.
Yeah, I feel like exactly. I feel like it's a film that maybe is not going to see the light of day because it's been in that post situation for so long that I'm like, I don't know if it's ever what's the lifespan of that guy is ever going to make it to the end. I don't know.
Well, you went from Spartan at number 9, and now you're number 1.
Yeah, that's right.
You worked your way up.
I never thought about that.
And you got a video short here. Still Feel Like Your Man, John Mayers. You play a fangirl. You want to talk about that experience?
Oh yeah. So I do lots of music videos as well.
Mm-hmm.
And John Mayer is one of the music videos I've done amongst many other music videos. That was shot a couple years ago, maybe. I still feel like your man. Is that the name of the song?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I say look it up and see what it's like. I mean, he was lovely. The choreography is really fun. It feels like it's kind of in like this Asian, like it's got an Asian, like Japanese Asian sort of like underground den kind of a vibe, and we're, you know, there's like, I feel like there were pandas in there. I don't even know why I'm remembering pandas, but there was, I think, like a panda. I was not a panda. I was one of the dancers in this video. But yeah, it was actually a really fun video to shoot.
Well, I was here too. You're a producer on a short called Famous. What was it like producing your own short?
Okay, so Famous. Oh my gosh. So Famous was a pretty epic experience because that film was shot. I actually produced and I produced and acted in it, and my friend wrote and directed it. And that film was fun because we shot it in India, and I lived in India for about a year, and I learned. It was like my year of film school without going to film school. That's kind of what that film represents for me. I got to learn about filmmaking, you know, on someone else's story. So my very good friend wanted me to be in it and also help produce it. So I went out to India and lived out there for a year and learned how to make films. But what was so fascinating was like we learned how to, like, it's so different than America. And making a film in India was so different because it's a different country. 2, they just do business there totally different. And 3, it's like a third world country. So it's like you need lighting, and like it comes with, you know, a light comes with 10 guys to hold it up. You know what I mean? Like the culture of filmmaking there is so different. And where your expenses go and just the process of making a film there was so unique. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that experience, and it taught me a lot.
And you're the costume designer on a short called The Fear We Share. Talk about that.
That's right. So my husband is a director, and you know, whenever he directs and I'm not in the film, I'm always like, how can I serve? Like, how can I be of service to you on this project? You know, where can I help you? You know, and I have no problem doing whatever it is that he needs, depending on what he needs for that project. And so in this case, there was 2 actors in this film, and he basically, you know, aside from performance, I also really love clothes. Like I am one to like go through my closet and make many outfits with the closet that I have. I love doing that. I love going to vintage shops and like finding really cool pieces. I love style. And so he knows this about me, and I'm really good at like kind of putting things together. I have very like minimal but helpful functioning like sewing skills. Like I can make something look good on you and fix the hole and put on a button and like safety pin it to fit you, you know, all of those things that like wardrobe and stylists and all that kind of stuff is, you know, they have to do. And so on this job and like the last couple of projects that he directed, I started doing wardrobe and costume design. So that's been a really fun behind the camera kind of role that I'm also enjoying.
It must be nice working with your husband, huh?
Yeah, I have been really enjoying it, and I never thought that would be possible. Like, you know, I rarely ever see couples that like can also work together, and I never assumed that we would be one of those couples. And I am pleasantly surprised that we can. And I'm very happy about that. So I trust his, I'm always like, you have to be honest and tell me, like, I don't need you to, like, tell me what you think I want to hear. Like, tell me what you want. Like, I am here to serve your project.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a respect for that, and as well as he'll respect that if he is ever helping me. There's a way to, like, kind of put down your thing to serve somebody else's project, and we're able to do that. And so there's a trust there, and I think he trusts my aesthetics and I trust his, and so together we were able to communicate and get the job done, which is I'm very grateful that we can do that.
Well, here's a question I ask all my guests. Do you have any charities that you're involved in that you would like to plug on here?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a mentor. I've been mentoring. I started volunteering as a mentor recently in the last 3-4 years through a nonprofit called Everybody Dance, through a foundation called the Gabriella Foundation. And I was inspired because I realized I didn't have a mentor growing up, and I really wished I had. Like, it would have really made things a lot easier for me. And I decided, well, if I didn't have one, then I'm going to be one. And there was a friend of mine who thought of me, and I'm so glad she did, to ask me to mentor. And I started doing this mentor match program. And I'm basically matched with a kid through this nonprofit. And the through line is that they're all kind of like taking dance within their curriculum. It's like a dance program, but our mentorship has nothing to do with dance unless the kid wants it to be about dance. And what ends up happening is the kids who end up choosing me tend to be kids who want to relate on life and what it's like how to get through life, and this first generation American thing is a big thing. And I feel like I've been able to guide and just help with any kind of, I suffered a lot, and so I want to be able to share the suffering that could maybe then turn to wisdom, and being able to balance, like, how do you respect your culture and your parents and also be true to yourself? Like, there is a fine balance with all of that. And just kind of like being there for them and letting them know that they're not alone. They're not alone in this journey. And I found that a lot of those kinds of kids kind of flock to me because that's kind of something that I can offer. I don't have my own business that I can kind of like have them come in and apprentice. There's very rarely a time that I can bring them on set because that just is not something that you can do. As a professional dancer, I can kind of guide them if they're looking into being a professional dancer or actor. I can kind of tell them, give them any kind of wisdom that I can offer, but it usually ends up being life stuff. Okay. And so that's one thing. And I also am a meditator, so if kids are really into that, they kind of want to be matched with me because I meditate, and I'm able to maybe offer that as a way to like deal with stress or anxiety or health, which then leads me to the other nonprofit that I'm a part of, which is called Vedas, which is a nonprofit and a platform that cultivates and preserves ancient Vedic wisdom and art. And so it supports, schools in India and ashrams where they're keeping the Sanskrit literature and traditions alive, which is, Sanskrit is the oldest language. It is, a very powerful language. It is, it's something that is not common, so we have to keep that culture and that alive. And that comes with the art and the meditation and the wisdom that comes from all the Vedas and the ancient scripture. So which is Ayurveda, Ayurveda, which is the healing of the body, and then there's meditation, and there's so many things that come out of the Vedas. So that is one of the nonprofits that I also support and volunteer for.
Okay. And I know you have a website. Plug your website.
I do?
Yeah.
Oh, plugging my website and my Instagram.
Yeah.
So my website is My website is my name. It's Reshma Gajjar or ReshmaGajjar.com. And on there will be, basically I need to update it. I actually really need to update it because I just did a bunch of projects that I'm really proud of that I need to add to the website. But right now I kept it very simple, and it's basically just a video of me and this video is also another very close to my heart video. It's called Shiver. I shot that in India, and I'm probably going to add another video onto it. I just did this video call for Active Child, which is this indie band, and it's really just a really beautiful music video where we are basically frozen in time. It's a video where we're just frozen in images, frozen, and so they're shooting us. It was a very difficult thing to do because with dance you flow through everything, but this was like frozen, and we had to hold these positions for a very long time. But through the positions, we're telling a story, and it was really, really beautiful. So on the website, I'm going to update it, and it'll have more things. But there is also a link and another tab to like stuff like this, like interviews or articles, sharing my experience and how I kind of got here and stuff like that. And my Instagram is my name, same as my website, just Reshma Gajjar.
Well, you know what? When I have this ready for you, I'll gladly send you a link so you can put it on your website. That'd be great.
Yeah, I will do.
Yeah. Are you still in touch with any of the other Spartanettes?
You know what? I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in touch with this young lady named Allison.
You know what? I reached out to her, Allison Falk.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I never heard back.
Oh, well, she must be busy. She's a big choreographer now. She did the Magic Mike.
Okay.
Magic Mike. She did Magic Mike, which is like this show in Las Vegas. I mean, I don't know. I'll ask her. Why did she reach out to you?
Here's the thing. I think it was on Facebook, and a lot of times Facebook filters messages, and sometimes I hear from people months after I message them. So that could be the thing.
If anyone reaches out to me on Facebook, they don't hear from me because I'm rarely on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you emailed me was a smart move.
Yeah, that's usually the route I go if I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of times, like I heard from somebody the other day that I messaged way back in May. I just heard from them, and I still had them on. But that's the thing. A lot of times I don't see those right in time.
Yeah, I would suggest email always.
Yeah. So no, Alison Falk was one of the ones that I reached out to because I found her on Facebook. But and I don't know who else. There's anybody else on there that I reached out to or not. Oh, I interviewed Amber Smith, of course, who's in American Beauty too. She was the very, very silent significant other of the Peter Gallagher character.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
how did you get the name Python?
You know what? I love African wildlife, and I really like snakes. And I just thought I think what happened, I watched American Graffiti, and I loved that scene where Richard Dreyfuss meets Wolfman Jack, but he doesn't know that he's Wolfman Jack because the guy's just himself. But when he leaves, he can hear the Wolfman Jack voice, and he's like, he met Wolfman Jack as the person who's not Wolfman Jack, the real person. But when he's on the air, he's the Wolfman. And there was something very mystical about that for me. And I thought, well, I want to have a DJ name as well. So I went with Python because I love snakes. I find snakes are so misunderstood. You know, I think they do a lot for the environment, but a lot of people are afraid of them. Yeah, my full DJ name is Python Hyena because I love the spotted hyena, another very misunderstood animal.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I know you mentioned India. You you got the Indian cobra there,
Uh-huh.
and the banded crate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, snakes are misunderstood and very mystical, very, very interesting creatures.
You also have tigers there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you see any of these animals when you're there?
I'm usually in the major cities, so no, I don't. I see monkeys.
Are they a pain in the ass?
Yeah, they will pick your pocket as fast as you can imagine.
You guys have the Indian elephant there too, and yeah. No, I've never been to India, but I'm familiar with a lot of the wildlife and stuff like that. But yeah, that's why I go by the name Python, and
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
it's kind of a thing. But I used to just go by that, and it's kind of like when celebrities and guests do plugs for my show, I kind of like having them say my name. So I always say my name, aka the Python Hyena. So
Nice.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm not a recluse. I don't care if somebody knows my real name or not, Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Was there anything else you want to plug and promote before we close off?
No, I think that's good.
Well, we're celebrating 20 years of American Beauty. Any lasting impressions?
Ooh, of American Beauty?
Yeah, like 20 years. Where'd the time go?
Yeah, where did the time go? And like I said earlier, if you can find it, please tell me where I can find it so I can go get it. Get the time back.
Well, I've interviewed a lot of people from films from 1999, and we all said the same thing, where'd the time go? It's but that was a great year for movies, and I had a great time with American Beauty. Had a great soundtrack to that movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the score. Like that the very very spellbinding scoring, especially that in the opening. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, would you mind very much doing a plug for my show?
Of course. Okay, I'm going to try it. Let's see what happens.
Go for it.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's Reshma Gajjar, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on... I forget. Wait, what was it?
Python's Paradise.
On Python's Paradise. Okay, let me try it again.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Reshma Gajjar, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada. And we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of American Beauty.
Yes, Spartanet number 9, who made it to dancer number 1 out in the freeway in La La Land.
That's right, 9-1.
9-1. You made it up there. Have you ever been out my way, New Brunswick, Canada, before?
I have not.
No, nobody
You know
knew.
where I was just yesterday, though? I was at the border of Vermont and Canada.
Okay.
At Lake Memphregog. I'm not even saying it right. Memphregog in Vermont. It's like right at the border of Canada.
Oh, there
So
we
it was
go.
close.
Well, there we go. Yeah, we're 4 hours ahead of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we go that extra mile above Toronto, so.
I have been to Toronto, though.
Yeah, I love
it.
Toronto. Yeah. Well, you know what? It was great having you on, Reshma. And like I said, you get any other projects coming out and whatnot, feel free to reach out to me. I'd gladly put you on my roster for next year, or if you got anything you want to plug. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful. I really appreciate you reaching out. It's my pleasure, truly.
Yep. You know what? I was happy to do so. So God bless you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.